are you, Gary?
Mate, thank you very much. Buzzing, it's fight week. It's been a long few months putting this one together. A lot of
Yeah.
highs and lows, but we got there. So yeah, I can't wait to get it rolling now. Show's looking awesome. Yeah, such a good buzz around it.
100%, man. I mean, it looks like took a lot of effort and time to create an event like this. Just generally, to do something like this of this magnitude, how long does it take? And what's the biggest obstacle that you face kind of arranging something like this as well?
Take several months to put on a show. I mean, I know that there are other events that try and roll them out every couple of months or every other month. I think that would probably turn me completely grey if I'd done that. I'd just like to focus and do several shows a year and just put everything I can into those shows. Biggest obstacles, pull-outs on events is always difficult. It's part and parcel of it, but it's always horrible when you have to make a phone call to a coach or a fighter that's been training. They're putting a full camp, and then you got to make that phone call and say, "I'm really sorry, your opponent's pulled out." That's never easy. It's part and parcel of it, but it don't get any easier delivering that news. And I guess the other thing is, cost of everything just goes up and up and up. I try to keep the costs down for tickets and things like that for people. But yeah, having sponsors and things like that to keep it rolling. It's all part and parcel of the game. But yeah, those are probably the two toughest things at the moment. I'm just going to put my phone on Zoom silent so I don't. There we go.
You're probably
Right
getting
now, I'm
people
quiet.
calling you as you speak, going, "What's going on Saturday?"
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. What
But
would
yeah, privilege. Thanks for covering the event and getting in touch. I love it. I love to see that Rage has sort of got big enough that people all over the country now are sort of tapping in, watching it on pay-per-view, and fighters from
definitely.
all over the country are getting involved. I love that. I really
Yeah,
enjoy seeing the progression of fighters. And that I'm a feeder show at the end of the day. So if you come and perform on Rage, then there is every chance that you could go on to like the UFC, Bellator, PFL, Cage Warriors, etc. And it
yeah. And
happens
it's an
regularly.
Yeah, it's an amazing promotion. I mean, just going through the card, this weekend you've got a heavyweight banger in Luke Newland against Dion Groombridge. You've got the first
Yeah,
professional bantamweight title fight in Charnie Sari versus Omid Ibrahimi. And of course, we've had a guest on the show, Sean Khan, Anthony Pettis sponsored fire. He's also going to be facing off against Vinny Baldwin, a veteran. So that's just a few of the fights that's on the
yeah,
card itself. Super exciting in
yeah.
that sense.
The pro
Um,
cards are looking great.
yeah,
Like you said, the heavyweight. Everyone loves to see a heavyweight, and my God, these two are just going to go for it. And I've no doubt that'll be entertaining. And Chane versus Omid. I mean, what a fight that is! If anyone's ever seen either one of those fighters, but both destined to go on to UFC or Bellator. It's there. They're both very talented fighters, and it's great to be able to put them in a title fight on Raged because I think you got to watch this space of both of them. Great fighters.
yeah, definitely. And the bantamweight division is just growing just worldwide in general. It's such a talent stacked division that you can 100% see these guys going on and doing bigger things in the future as well. How difficult is it finding talent as well? It must be super difficult, Gary, you know?
Sometimes it can be, yeah. Sometimes we have to branch out and go out a little bit further to bring talent in. I'm always happy to get talent from all over the place. That's the beauty of it. If it makes a great fight, then it makes sense. That's how I look at it. It becomes more of a problem when you have people that pull out and so on, and you're getting closer to the fight. Yeah, that's when it gets more and more difficult.
Yeah.
But I think, I've been going long enough now that I think I've got good relations with most of the big gyms around the country that they know that they can put their fighters on the show and they know it's going to be a good, fair event and that's how I want it. So generally, a lot of gyms will put their fighters forward in advance, but as I said, when you have the pullouts, that's when it starts getting tough. But that's
Yeah.
not just me; that's every promoter.
Yeah, I mean, it must be extremely stressful. I mean, I can't even
Yeah.
imagine. What would you say is the most kind of enjoyable aspect over the last 10 years?
I do enjoy it, like the whole buzz of it, the whole just putting it together. When you make a great fight and you see other people get excited about it, when you think, I've just negotiated that. I've put that together. And like when you put it out there and you announce a fight and you see everybody else like, great fight, brilliant, that's brilliant. I love that. I get a buzz from that. And on the night, all right, at the beginning of the night, you might see me flapping around a little bit, stressing. But once the show gets going and you see that crowd pour in and the atmosphere there, it kind of takes you back. It's like every time I'm in that arena and the atmosphere it's just something else. And when, particularly if you have a big high profile fight on and someone comes out when they've got, a banging tune, we're very lucky. We Showtech are our production company, probably the best in the UK. Um, and what they do is next level. The production level is just insane. So when someone comes out and they got the music and the lights, yeah, it just takes everything to the next level. And I get a buzz from that as well. I'm like excited. So yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of aspects. There's a lot of cool stuff on the show. That's when it makes it worthwhile doing. When uh when I'm flapping around, it's probably don't feel so great because I'm sorting something out or someone's forgotten something or just typical crap that goes on the day. But generally, the buzz and the enjoyment you get in the build up is, and obviously on the night, is great as well.
Yeah. I bet the post fight, do you have a post fight party? I bet that's pretty crazy. Or is it just like, I need to go to sleep, man?
Yeah, we always try and do something. We offer something because we got guys that come from all over the country and people stay down. So we always organise something. So this event, Boom Battle Bar, are sponsoring the event, and it's just across the road from the venue. So that's where the after party will be. A lot of the time for me, I I always try and stay out, but I can't promise. Mate, I'm getting older and tired,
Hey, same,
older
man.
than grey now. It's
We both
aging me
struggle with
terribly.
technology today, man.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, yeah. Every show ages me terribly, so it's like the older I get, the earlier I go home. But yeah, I've even brought the show. We're opening the doors earlier.
Oh, yeah, makes sense, man. Makes sense. I'm gonna change gears a bit, Gary. I did read on your profile that you are an actor. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I've done a few bits over the years. Nothing recently, but yeah, I went to drama school when I was a kid. It was one of them kind of like typical story. Like I was never naughty at school, but I was sort of I was a bit of a clown, bit of a joker, and I think as a punishment, I got asked to be in a like a school play, and I really liked it. So my mum was like, "Okay, we're gonna send you to a drama school." So yeah, I've done that over the years and done bits and pieces, bits of extra work, little small parts here and there, and it's yeah, it's good fun. It's something else to get involved with every now and again. I've done a few bits and pieces, but no starring roles, nothing to get super excited
Hey,
about. But yeah,
that's still pretty cool,
we've
man.
had fun.
Yeah, I mean that's still very cool. So I had to ask you about that. I'm like, acting, that's mad. So how did you get into mixed martial arts in general?
My granddad was a very good boxer, very good amateur boxer. And as a kid, I was like fanatical about boxing. I was, like a boxing historian, all the old school boxers. I knew everything. I read all his magazines and he used to do bits and pieces with me. Then he took me to a gym and I trained as an amateur. But there was a problem. I didn't like getting punched in the face. So I was never going to make a great boxer, but I love the idea of it. I love the whole, everything that goes with it. But I thought to myself, I want to stay involved in the sport. Um, you just need to have that complete killer instinct, really, don't you? And I just didn't have it. I think I could do everything else. Um, but that's just me being real. And I thought, but I still love it. I want to be involved in it. What can I do? So I ended up doing a degree in sports science. I specialize in sports injuries and strength and conditioning. So I started working with a lot of professional boxers, a lot of amateur boxers. Then there was a bit of a gap. I started putting on my own white collar boxing events and licensed shows. Enjoyed that for a little while, and then it got a bit saturated. There was a lot of other events going on at the time, and a friend of mine, Michael Osborne, everyone calls him Big Oz, in Swindon. Swindon's first ever professional MMA fighter. He's ran SVT gym in Swindon. Um, he said to me, mate, you put on good events. He goes, why don't you do MMA? And I was
Mm,
like, never even thought about it. He goes, honestly, he's kind of like the bridge into the MMA world. He sort of gave me the introductions. So I said, all right, why don't I give it a bash? And like I sort of had him, but by my side, just sort of guiding me on everything. And I just took it from there. So the first MMA show I ever went to was my own.
Oh wow.
Um, so I literally went into it from not having a true understanding, but one once I started watching it, I was a typical MMA guy, like a casual fan. Like I loved it when they were stood up, but I was like,
Yeah.
oh, why are they on the ground? I didn't understand it. Then I started doing jujitsu, and then I'm like, oh, hang on, I actually really like the ground stuff. It makes sense, and a lot of stuff started clicking. And of course, once you start visiting gym, I try and go out and do my own interviews and speak to a lot of people. And I was just learning more and more. And obviously, over the years, I've made some really good friends in mixed martial arts, and I just love the people. I love the gyms. I love the fighters. Just they're just great to deal with generally. Touch with.
Yeah.
And I've just learned along the way, and then obviously along with that, my sort of passion and love for the sport has grown, along with everyone else as the sport MMA's developed. Sometimes it's been an uphill battle, like when you're trying to promote it, and some people think, oh, it's just barbaric, it's this, it's that, and then when you try and explain to them, it's like, well, actually, it's martial arts. Like you want to see my crowd, such a great crowd. They're educated. They want to watch what happens when they go to the ground. It's not a yobbish mentality, which is if you go to a new venue or you're trying to explain it to someone, they don't all understand. But fortunately, with likes of so many big MMA fighters that have come through over the years, it's elevated the sport, and which ultimately is what I wanted to do as well. Have a great platform, um, and just keep bringing through talent.
Yeah. That's interesting. You started a boxing event and then you moved into MMA because I feel like with the UK, boxing is so much more it's more accepted because there's a rich kind of tradition behind it. Boxing has been around for hundreds of years within the UK and it's like a huge sport still to this day. With MMA, it's still a growing sport. Was it really difficult in the earlier days to really be like, look, I'm running an MMA event and people would just be like, no, I'm not interested, man. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, it definitely it had its struggles. Obviously, I've come from nowhere. Who is this guy that wants to put on MMA? I'm not old school MMA. Although 10 years now, slightly,
Yeah.
I'm getting older. But obviously I had Oz backing me. So Oz is old school MMA, and he was like the guy, and he was like, listen, I'm helping my friend put on a show. Do you want to be involved? And then it was easier back then. I guess with boxing, like if you're going to do professional amateur boxing, you've got the sanctioning bodies and things like that, which is ultimately the way MMA is going, which is great. But in the early days, it was easier to make the fights, but they're not as many fighters. So people were just grateful to get fights. So it's kind of like that. It was, yeah. So it's definitely had its hurdles, but I think because it was, there wasn't that many shows around when I started. There was a few dotted around, but because there wasn't that many of it, it was kind of like, oh, there's MMA in Swindon. Okay, yeah, that's worth a visit. That's worth getting involved with. And because Swindon's along that M4 corridor, it makes such a good sort of area, really. We get people from, you know, London, Reading, Slough, all down that direction. And then you go on the other side, you got Bristol, Cheltenham, Gloucester, Wales. We're kind of bang in the middle of everything, really. So as much as everyone likes to have a little laugh on Swindon, it is very it's very handy to put on events,
Yeah,
which is
definitely.
why I think it was convenient, which is why I get guys from sort of both sides.
Yeah. As you said, Swin Vegas, eh?
Swin Vegas, baby. Yeah, it's where the magic happens. Anyone that comes through Swindon, you'll see like boxing shows every week. We got Nielsen's boxing, which turned over to they're running the game in professional boxing now. We
Awesome.
got several white collar boxing events around. Um, yeah, so Swindon it's a fight town. It is a predominantly boxing town, but I'm trying to change that.
Definitely, man. Definitely. And you're doing a great job, Gary. But
Thank
final
you.
question for you, Gary. Where do you see yourself in 5 years' time?
Um, Helping build careers still. I think I know my place. I'm not trying to compete with like The biggest of the biggest. It's not me. I enjoy being hands-on. I enjoy being involved in the thick of it, working with people. Um, so for me, like if someone goes and gets tapped up and they end up on UFC or something like that, I look at that like what a positive that is. This
Yeah,
guy was champion on Raged. I'm like, that's cemented. That's on their tapology. That's on their record. When you look at the tail of the tape and it says last win on Raid, I'm like, that comes from something I started. And that's not to say, I run it by myself, but I have such a great team that helped me on the day as well. So I have to give a massive shout out to them. I have all my family working on the day. I've got a lot of friends working on the day. Great production team. All the officials are awesome as well. We use great officials. And I use all the same people over again. Like, if it ain't broken, I don't want to change anything because it works and I trust the people that I'm doing it with. And hopefully over the years, I'd like to think I've got, pretty good reputation working with everyone. Um, yeah, so next 5 years, I'll still be doing the same thing. Hopefully we keep growing and we grow, the platform gets bigger and bigger, we get more followers. And we grow the audience on pay-per-view. That's sort of the next plan, as we're doing pay-per-view now, we want to get it out. And the further out it goes, the more people are aware, which means we can bring in more fighters and, you know, bigger sponsors mean, that can mean bigger events. So yeah, you never know. Maybe we can put on
100%.
a Raged USA or something. I did say
Yes.
I'd love to do
Hey,
that one day.
hey, sign us up, man. We'll definitely cover it up as well. Raised
Yeah,
UFC, man. Awesome. But
yeah,
Gary,
we
thank you so much, man. Absolute legend. Loved having you on and great chat. But look, the final word goes out to you. Tell the folks where they can buy the pay-per-view this Saturday. Shout out who you need to shout out, any sponsors. Go for it, Gary, man. It's your spotlight.
Thank you very much for having me on the podcast. It's awesome. Guys, you need to check these guys out and give them a follow. I'll be sharing everything on my pages. It means a lot that other people support and they follow my event. I've got a lot of sponsors, so I don't want to miss anyone out and try and rattle them all off. All of them are equally important, and you've made the show what it is. I need to thank all the gyms and all the fighters for getting involved, and for choosing Rage, my platform, to get on board. It means a lot, and it means a lot that every time you keep coming back and doing it. I couldn't do the show without you guys, all of the staff and all my helpers on the night. Incredible. Very, very grateful. I'm very grateful for the support, and long may it continue. If you want to tune in, you can buy the fight from fightworld.tv. So yeah, you just jump on their website. I mean, I'll put plenty of direct links as well on my socials, on the Rage socials, so you can just click on the link and you can purchase through there. We have sold out of most tickets. We're gonna have a few standard left, which you can buy on the door, or you can buy from www.rage.uk. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you fight night.
Thanks, Gary.